Hello there. This is the Views Express for the 24th of October, 2012. How are you today? I am your host, Reverend Wayne S. Pierce. Yes, got lots of things to talk about. A former Goldman Sachs head is going to jail for 2 years. How do you like those apples? Lots of things happening. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Check that out. Hey, if you're on the website, I need your assistance. If you write articles and stuff that you want to put on the website or you'd like to see on the website, please email me at libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. Would love that. I've also put out a free email newsletter every month, or maybe twice, maybe 3 times a month, depending. And if you want to see your stories in there or you want to write articles for that, you can do that as well. Send that information to Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. That's Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Awesome day today. It's Wednesday. We're on the downhill slide of the week, and it is awesome. Hey, yes, it is awesome because we're defending ourselves. Yes. Go to bbc.co.uk and click on the link on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. U.S. bank boss jailed for 2 years. One thing I need to remember is not to take a big swig of Pepsi before the show. Yeah. Also, on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. October 24th, tens of thousands rallied in Hungary Tuesday against media censorship, corruption, and the erosion of democracy. Go check that one out. Also, hey, our wonderful friends over there at DARPA. The rescue robot jumps, climbs, and dodges obstacles. And, of course, none other than the Press for Truth TV founder, Dan Dix, is exposing Bilderberg again. Abby Martin interviews Dan Dix, founder of the Press for Truth, so you can go over there on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook, click that link. Keene, New Hampshire. Any of my listeners over there in New Hampshire? I have a friend in Madison. But I don't know if anybody in Keene listens to this show. I know you have some wonderful hosts over there at Liberty Radio Network with Free Talk Live. That would be Mark and Ian and all those folks over there. Keene District Court expands security to the city building's first floor. Okay. Also, Romney Representative Tom Ridge doesn't think presidents target individuals, which he's full of crap. Greg Palast, Mitt Romney's bailout bonanza, how he made millions from the rescue of Detroit. And Obama caught promising amnesty as a reward for Hispanic voters choosing him. I'll read that. Of course, North Carolina residents select Romney, but vote comes up for Obama. You see, it's a fraud. All those electronic voting devices need to get thrown out, period. UK-funded UN documents support online surveillance just like the Brits want. Okay? And what President Obama says he'll do to your gun rights. Plan for hunting terrorists signals U.S. intends to keep adding names to kill lists. UN calls for worldwide internet surveillance and data retention in the name of fighting terrorism. Isn't that wonderful? Romney family buys voting machines through Bain Capital Investment. Xbox Live poll shows overwhelming gamer support for more drone strikes. Hey, they're not killing anybody. It's a virtual reality to them. They don't know that there's somebody on the other end of that. UN calls for worldwide internet surveillance and data retention in the name of fighting terrorism. It's another article I have up there. And of course, there's a picture of Amber Lyon herself, who exposed CNN for censorship and all of what they do and who pays them and the whole 9 yards. Bombshell: historic pedophile ring linked to 10 Downey Street, at least one former prime minister. North Dakota passes law to ban forced RFID chip implants in humans. Isn't that wonderful? That's what I've got in store. But I put up a small or a short podcast about perspective, and I'd like your input on that. I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. So many things are going on, just so many. You just want to grab your tent and go camping and forget it all, right? Seriously. So many things are going on, and this show is no different. This coming Friday, we have Angel Clark from The Angel Clark Show. She'll be on the show for about a half hour. And we're just going to catch up, what's on her radar, what she thinks of the debates, that kind of thing. Just kind of get an overall view of what Angel Clark believes and feels is happening to America today. Go check out The Angel Clark Show, 5 to 7 Eastern at radiofreedom.us. And check out her website at sussexcountyangel.com. So, and on the 29th, on Monday, the 29th, we will have a special broadcast of the Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show. That's at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. We will have author Marie D. Jones on. We'll be talking about her new book and all of that stuff. And if you're into some really spiritual awakening and time travel and all that, come check out that show. That's Monday. I have to confirm it, but she said Monday, the 29th. So I'm going to confirm that here this week, and she'll be on the show. The special broadcast of the Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show. That's Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. And there is, if one person could reveal the truth about someone else and then go tell 10 other people, over time, what would that do? Okay? What would that do? It'd wake up a lot of people, wouldn't it? So, this show here, The Views Expressed, is just that. It's a tool. It is a way for me to get the information that I collect throughout every place that I go on the internet. I put it on my Facebook page at Liberty and Freedom Network. You read it, you make up your mind. All I'm doing is giving you my opinion of the information that I have collected. Okay? Showing you behind the scenes exactly what it is. And what I do is basically inform people. Am I a journalist? No. I'm a commentator. I have my opinions. I do write articles in the Liberty and Freedom Network newsletter, email newsletter. I do put my thoughts and my ideas up on Facebook. But that's what they are. Just opinions, just thoughts, just observations. And did you know? Here's the downside to that. You can go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook, and you'll see a link from MaggieNotMargaret.com, and the title of the article is, "You're Not a Lawyer, Don't Play One on Facebook." And she writes, "You're not a lawyer, don't play one on Facebook or posting random sections of UCC 1-103 1-308 on your profile doesn't make a difference." Now, she writes here, recently, I'm seeing the following message popping up on Facebook news feeds. Privacy notice. Warning, any person and or institution and or agent and or agency of any governmental structure, including but not limited to the United States federal government, also using or monitoring using this website or any of its associated websites, you do not have my permission to utilize any of my profile information, nor any of the content contained herein, including but not limited to my photos and or comments made about my photos or any other picture art posted on my profile. You are hereby notified that you are strictly prohibited from disclosing, copying, distributing, disseminating, or taking any other action against me with regard to this profile and the contents herein. The foregoing prohibitions also apply to your employee, agent, student, or any personnel under your direction or control. The contents of this profile are private and legally privileged and confidential information, and the violation of my personal privacy is punishable by law. And it says UCC 1-103 1-308, all rights reserved without prejudice. Basically, it says, as she writes here, basically it says that you being the government, corporations, people, etc., don't have the right to utilize my Facebook profile for any of the information I post, or any of the information I post, as well being prevented from utilizing. You can't disclose, copy, distribute, or disseminate any information that I post. Most ironically, this post is being copied from profile to profile. First of all, let's deal with the obvious. If you really want something to stay private, don't post it to Facebook. Now that that's out of the way, what's UC 1-103 1-308? And does it really give you any rights to prevent anyone from using the info that you post on Facebook? I'm going to climb out on a limb here and say no, just taking a wild guess. This is what the woman MaggieNotMargaret.com says. I didn't give you the author's name, did I? Maggie. Let's put it that way. MaggieNotMargaret.com. Continuing, according to Wikipedia, obviously a super valid source. Don't believe me? Check out this article from Chronicle of Higher Education on the error rate of Wikipedia compared to Encyclopedia Britannica. The Uniform Commercial Code was originally published in 1962, but has been updated since then to harmonize business regulations between states to facilitate interstate commerce. In parentheses, she writes, so clearly it was about Facebook. Those Congress members, so go ahead, so ahead of their time. Section 103 and 108 of the UCC discuss contract law, but only in the most general sense. Section 103 basically says that contract laws are the law unless they're suspended by the UCC, and the Section 108 says the UCC impacts the Electronic Signatures in Global and National Commerce Act, which itself says that consumers' electronic signatures can be considered valid signatures. Clearly, neither of these sections, nor the Electronic Signature and Global and National Commerce Act, say anything at all related to the claims made in the post. So, what gives? Rumor site Waffles at Noon, think Snopes, posits that people are posting this information because of the rumors that Facebook's privacy policy changed with the IPO. But really, it's not like Facebook's privacy policies could get any worse. It's basically, quote unquote, we own everything, you don't. Also, Facebook's privacy policy hasn't changed. And as referenced above, the electronic signature that we all give Facebook when we signed up, signing away our rights to our pictures and maybe our firstborn, is valid. Posting this or any other pseudo-legal mumbo-jumbo to your profile doesn't change the fact that Facebook owns the rights to everything that you post. So here's my advice. Don't post it on your profile. To borrow from internet slang, it makes you look like a noob. It's Facebook's world. We just post in it. Questions of the day. Have you posted it on your Facebook, on your profile? Have your friends? Does it bother you that you don't own the copyright to any information that you post on Facebook? Enough to do anything about it? Now, let me tell you something. From now on, if I post something in my name, I am going to put copyright after it. Little C thing and put the year and the whole 9 yards. Why? Because Facebook doesn't own it. And once I put that copyright behind it, Facebook has to pay me. Now, try to take that to court. I'm just an aggregate. Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook is just an aggregate of news articles that I find and I put up there and I find of interest. Anything that I post on my profile page outside of that is mine personally, is going to start to have a copyright date after it. And if Facebook wants to use it for garnering advertising or using it in whatever manner they see fit, well, guess what, Mr. Zuckerberg or Soros or whoever owns Facebook or CIA or whatever, you're going to have to drop the dollar in my pocket. Do you understand me? Got it? That's just the way it is. And of course, let me state the obvious. If you don't want people to know, don't post it. It's that simple. Okay? It's that freaking simple. All right? I don't know why people cannot understand that posting things like, hey, going to the store, I'll be back in about an hour, is giving people who know you in that area full reign to come to your house when you're not there. Posting about your kids going to school and posting their pictures and folks, everything you put on Facebook is Facebook's. It's now their property. It's like me coming to you and handing you the keys to my car and saying, hey, it's yours. Or you coming to me and borrowing my car and cleaning it and whatever. You're doing whatever it is you're doing, but you're using my car. I know, bad analogies, but point being is we're screwed. Got it? Everything you put on Facebook becomes the property of Facebook. Got any attorneys out there that can fight this? Got any attorneys out there that will go against, all of this? I don't know how, because the courts are bought off by George Soros. There's a CIA connection to Facebook. Okay? I don't know if Mark Zuckerberg is still hanging out, but yeah, he's somewhere. I think he got bought out and he took his millions and left. Much like Tom over at MySpace. Remember that? So that UCC notification that everybody loves to put on there telling the government, keep your hands off my stuff, is bogus. Okay, it is bogus. It is bogus. It is bogus. Okay? So don't put it on there anymore. Speaking of bogus things, there's an article there on Facebook that is, Guilford County, North Carolina voters say ballot cast for Romney came up Obama on the machine. From LateNightInTheMidlands.com. It's true. It's rigged, folks. All of it is rigged. All of it. I want to see some independents like Gary Johnson and the other parties debate. I didn't watch it, but I'd like to see them come out and just say, okay, get rid of the voting. Get rid of it. Because, all they're doing in Washington, D.C. right now is voting for themselves. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. They're voting on, really, it's not really voting, it's making, I'm going to say this. They're mocking the system that you and I are so familiar with. First of all, we're not secure. Second of all, we're not the United States of America anymore. Third, voting is a joke. It's all a fraud. All of it. Every last bit of it. Yeah, but if we don't vote, well, it makes me feel good. How can I say that? I just read you the headline from LateNightInTheMidlands.com, who got it from somebody else. By the way, here's why it's a fraud. From AllVoices.com, you can click on the link on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Romney family buys voting machines through Bain Capital Investment. Okay? All right? Let me go read that article to you. Tag Romney, the son of Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney, has purchased electronic voting machines that will be used in the 2012 elections in Ohio, Texas, Oklahoma, Washington, and Colorado. Quote, late last night, Gary Bello and Bob Fritrakis of freepress.org broke the story of the Mitt Romney Bain Capital investment team involved in HIG Capital, which in July of 2011 completed a strategic investment to take over a fair share of the Austin-based e-voting machine company Hart InterCivic, unquote, according to independent journalist Brad Friedman. But Friedman is not the only one to discover the connection between the Romney family Bain Capital and ownership of voting machines. Truth Out reports, quote, through a closely held equity fund called Solomir, Mitt Romney and his wife, son, and brother are major investors in an investment firm called HIG Capital. HIG, in turn, holds a majority share and 3 out of 5 board members in Hart InterCivic, a company that owns the notoriously faulty electronic voting machines that will count the ballots in swing state Ohio November 7th. Hart machines will also be used elsewhere in the United States. In other words, a candidate for the presidency of the United States and his brother, wife, and son have a straight-line financial interest in the voting machines that could decide this fall's election. These machines cannot be monitored by the public, but they will help decide who owns the White House. Both the Nation and the unquote. Both the Nation and the New York Times confirmed the connection between Romney family, Solomir, and the Bain Capital investment in the voting machine company Hart InterCivic, whose board of directors serve HIG Capital. Quote, Mitt Romney and his wife, Ann Romney, and their son, Tag Romney, are also invested in HIG Capital, as is Mitt's brother, G. Scott Romney. The investment comes in part through the privately held family equity firm called Solomir, which bears the name of the posh Utah ski community where Romney family retreats to slide down the slopes, unquote, Truth Out added. There are also political connections between Solomir and Romney's. Quote, Matt Blunt, the former Missouri governor who backed Romney in 2008, is a senior advisor in Solomir, as is Mitt Romney's brother, Scott, a lawyer, unquote, according to New York Times. Voter ID and voter fraud have been top issues in the 2012 race, as have claims of Republican voter suppression. Mr. Romney's campaign has also been the subject of controversy over misleading ads, false claims, sketchy math on his tax plan, and overall vagueness on women's rights and other hot-button issues. Raising further questions of legitimacy in the Romney campaign is an audio recording recently made public where Mitt Romney is heard asking independent business owners to apply pressure to their employees to influence their votes. What has also been made public are the emails those employees have sent to their the employers have sent to their employees, which all implied threat that if they don't vote for Romney, they may lose their jobs. What it all says is that Mitt Romney, with the help of his family and Bain Capital connections, is more than willing to try to make the White House through illegitimate and highly unethical, if not specifically illegal means. With each passing day, the character and campaign methods of Mitt Romney cast an even darker shadow over free and fair American elections. Yet there is an irony in the Romney campaign that cannot be ignored. For all the noise, the right wing has made in questioning the legitimacy of Obama's presidency, there have been so many questionable efforts made to help Romney in the White House. Help put Romney in the White House. If he wins, there should be a great dispute over whether his election could ever be called genuinely illegitimate. The nagging question is why, if Mr. Romney truly has the qualities of an American that the American voters want in a president, does he have to go to such great and questionable lengths to try to win the election? This is true. Told you it is an absolute total fraud. All of it. All of it. School loans, mortgages, you name it, they're all a fraud. Somebody's getting paid somewhere, and sure as hell ain't us, huh? I don't know. Are we going to stand by and let this crap happen? Obviously, because only a little over 40% of the people really vote. And I think the other so-called registered voters, the other half of America, I think we know what's going on, and we just, we have to do what we have to do. I mean, that's all there is to it. I don't, I've said it before, I'll say it again. We have to defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights of the United States of America, period. End of sentence. We have to. We have to. This is the views expressed right here on the Liberty and Freedom Network, broadcasting live on Spreaker.com. I'll be back.
Listen to Angel Clark Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Radio Freedom News Network. RadioFreedom.us.
Have you heard about a show called Diane and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri? It's a talk show Well, it's called Grab Bag Potpourri for a reason. They talk about everything under the sun, from education to politics, from lines at the cashier in the stores to parking lot drivers not paying attention. You want real radio? Well, you don't get any more real than that. That's Diane and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show, Fridays at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a whole lot of fun.
We went to the streets to ask people, what do you like about Doc FM?
Oh, well, I think he's sexy. He has a very sexy voice, and he makes my headphones tingle. I think the doctor is very smart. Everything he tells you, you must learn it, because it is smartness to know. Plus, he plays my favorite music. He plays like the 80s and the 70s and the 44s and the 62s.
J'ai pas eu une seule occasion de rester sans rien faire depuis que je suis arrivé à Camelot. Je suis trop occupé à courir derrière Arthur. Fais ci Merlin, fais ça Merlin. Et quand je cours pas derrière Arthur, je fais des corvées pour vous. Et quand je fais pas ça, j'accomplis mon...
Doc FM on Spreaker.com. Well, it's no secret that Doctor won't play none of that countrified music, so I don't really listen to him that much, but when I do, it's a hold down. The first time that I listened to the Doctor, he was making fun of the British. After I got over my attitude, I came back and listened to him. He's wonderful and raucous.
Listen to Doc FM every Saturday evening, 7 p.m. Central, right here on Spreaker.com.
There we go. How about turning that volume control down? This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce. You're listening to the Views Expressed right here on the Liberty and Freedom Network, broadcasting live on Spreaker.com. Yes, and we're back. This is the bottom of the hour. We got an hour or so to go. From BBC, U.S. bank boss jailed for 2 years. This is BBC News. Former Goldman Sachs board member jailed for 2 years. A former Goldman Sachs board member who was found guilty of 4 criminal counts of insider trading has been sentenced to 2 years in jail. Rajat Gupta, 63, had leaked boardroom secrets to Rajaratnam. I don't know how to pronounce that same name, sorry. A former hedge fund manager now serving 11 years in prison. U.S. District Court Judge Jed Rakoff, I believe, R-A-K-O-F-S, has ordered Gupta to pay a $5 million fine, or 3 million pounds. Gupta said he regretted the impact of the case on his family and friends. Reading from a statement, he said, quote, "The last 18 months have been the most challenging period of my life since I lost my parents as a teenager," unquote. He added, quote, "I've lost my reputation I built for a lifetime. The verdict was devastating," unquote. During the court case, which resulted in Gupta being found guilty in June, the jury heard secret recordings of conversations between him and the other guy. The trial focused on a phone call made to Rajaratnam on 23rd of September 2008, minutes after Gupta had listened to a private conference call discussing a $5 billion investment in Goldman Sachs by Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway. The deal was due to be made public after stock markets closed that day. According to the phone records, Rajaratnam, I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry, I'm butchering it, bought $40 million in Goldman Sachs stock moments after the phone call, earning him $1 million. Gupta, who was born in India and educated at Harvard, also served on the boards of Procter & Gamble, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Well, there you go. Bill and Melinda Gates. Yeah. Cruise on down the page there. See a bunch of videos. Go to this. Obama caught promising amnesty as a reward for Hispanic voters choosing him. An interview with the Des Moines Register that was supposed to be off the record turned out to not be so. During that interview, which was made public, Barack Obama made it clear that he would reward Hispanics with full amnesty and immigration reform next year if they just elected him. The two problems with that are, number one, he shouldn't be offering American citizenship as a reward for votes, and he already promised them that last time, and like everything else, he didn't deliver. So there you go. That's from the Liberty and Freedom Foundation. Not my group, the Liberty and Freedom Foundation. They're on Facebook. Yeah, the intelhub.com. Voter fraud. North Carolina residents select Romney, but the vote comes up for Obama. Alex Thomas over there at the Intel Hub. Thank you, Alex. Multiple residents from the third largest county in North Carolina have reported that their votes cast on electronic voting machines were repeatedly changed from Romney to Obama. Residents in Guilford County began to report the problem to WGHP-TV, which in turn ran a report on the irregularities that voting officials were quick to claim have been fixed. In more ways than one, obviously, voter Cher Crumalius, I believe that's another name I butchered, told MyFox8.com that every time she attempted to vote for Romney, the machine changed her vote to Obama. I was so upset this could happen, she said. Another voter, Marie Haydock, also voiced her concern and noted how big of a deal it was for even one vote to be altered. The frustration is, she says, every vote counts. County officials have claimed that the issue has been fixed, that there is no conspiracy, and that it is a problem that regularly occurs during early voting. It's not a conspiracy, it's just a machine that needs to be corrected, said Guilford County Board of Elections Director George Gilbert. Do I buy him? Do I believe that? Well, let's read on. Let me read on, you listen. Interestingly, Michelle Obama has recently urged supporters and Americans throughout the nation to vote early, pushing forth the narrative that if you wait for voting day, there is a chance of not being able to cast your vote. Quote, I mailed my ballot early today. I voted for Barack Obama, unquote, she said to loud cheers from the crowd gathered at the University of Wisconsin Marathon County Fieldhouse, reported the Huffington Post. Quote, I did it because I wanted to spend Election Day really working to turn out the vote, and that may be something you want to think about doing, unquote. Now she's telling us how to think. She then went on to list numerous things that could help someone from voting on Election Day. And, quote, you wake up on Election Day, you might have a cold, babysitter gets sick, it's raining, the car broke down, I can go on, toilet overflowing. There are so many ways to mess up a day when you don't have a lot of time, unquote. It should be noted that both the Democrats and Republicans are pushing early voting and actually seem to be in a voting rigging war to steal the election. As we have noted in the past, both parties and presidential candidates agree on almost every single freedom-oriented issue, and their battle for the White House may be nothing more than a dog and pony show to keep the masses distracted. Nonetheless, it sure is interesting to sit back and watch both of the power structures attack each other in a fight to see who gets the job to further enslave the American people for the next 4 years. That's what Alex Thomas over at the Intel Hub wrote. Thank you, Alex. I want to tell you straight up, it is a dog and pony show. You are being distracted from the real issues. You are being, it's like a magician standing in front of you, doing magic with cards with one hand while the other hand is taking the wallet. Okay? I mean, that's just the way it is. This is the way it is. It's always been that way. There's been voter fraud since I believe it goes back to like the 1950s. It's just been overwhelming these last few elections. Okay? And what about early voting? What does that do? You know? What does that do? It's not even November 6th yet. It's next week. And people are voting early? Why? It doesn't... come on. Well, we want to get ahead of the game so we won't be in the crowd. We want to vote. Okay, there's this thing called an absentee ballot. And you can use that. You can call your Republican or Democratic side or even your independent side, your offices there locally, and say, I want an absentee ballot. They'll give it to you. They'll ask you a couple of questions, but they'll give it to you. The facts are, doesn't matter. That's the question. Doesn't matter. And the facts are this. In the whole scope of liberty and freedom in America, and what the power structure has done, I should say the power infrastructure has done, is totally put us out of the loop by suppressing our speech, suppressing our Second Amendment rights, by doing everything that we don't want them to do. And we tell them that, either in blogs or on Facebook or whatever, and we tell them that, don't do that, whatever. And people are saying, well, call your congressman, call your representative. They're all bought off. Okay? Whoever has put money into their campaign coffers to get them in the office has been bought off, period. Well, some people might tell me that I don't have enough faith in this, in the election process, I've even had people tell me years ago, you're not clear as to how all this works. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. It's perfectly clear to me how all this works. It's called bribery. I just read you that thing about Barack Obama telling the Hispanics that he'll give them amnesty if they vote for him. Hello, bribery, right there. Okay? Talking about suppressing our rights from Forbes.com. Click on the link on Liberty and Freedom Network. What President Obama says he'll do to your gun rights. Frank Miniature, contributor over there at Forbes. Thank you, Frank. During the second presidential debate, a participant, Nina Gonzalez, asked President Obama, quote, President Obama, during the Democratic National Convention in 2008, you stated you wanted to keep AK-47s out of the hands of criminals. What has your administration done or planned to do to limit the availability of assault rifles or assault weapons? Unquote. Now, most of the firearms deliberately sold to straw purchasers in Operation Fast and Furious, while ATF officials watched on closed-circuit TV via surveillance cameras in gun stores, were AK-47s. These guns mostly went to Mexican drug cartels. They have since been used to kill a lot of people in Mexico. One of the AK-47s was recovered at a murder scene in Arizona after the drug runner used it to gun down a U.S. Border Patrol agent. But rather than dig into Obama's administration's cover-up of Operation Fast and Furious or its other anti-Second Amendment overtures, let's just listen to President Obama and ponder what he says he would do to your gun rights if given a second term. This is his quotes, folks. Listen. Obama said, quote, I believe in the Second Amendment. We've got a long tradition of hunting and sportsmen and people who want to make sure they can protect themselves, unquote. Then, after talking about the shooting in Aurora, Colorado, Obama said, quote, I also share your belief that weapons that were designed for soldiers in war theaters don't belong in our streets, unquote. Yikes, let's pause for a moment. The muskets used in the American Revolution were designed for soldiers in war theaters. Lever-action rifles were used in Indian Wars and in the American Civil War. Meanwhile, lever-action rifles have always been hunting guns. And the writer's Frank here says, my first deer rifle was a Marlin lever-action model 336. The bolt-action Springfield 1903 rifle was used by the U.S. military through the first half of the 20th century. Many deer hunters today use bolt-action rifles, and many have sporterized the 1903s. The same can be said about every other type of long gun. What about handguns? John Browning's Model 1911 is a single-action, semi-automatic, magazine-fed, recoil-operated handgun originally chambered for the .45 ACP cartridge. The Model 1911 served as a standard sidearm in World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. Many civilians today own Model 1911s. Also, since 1911, many other versions of semi-automatic magazine-fed handguns have been developed and are commonly used for self-defense, hunting, and target shooting. Actually, most firearms used by American civilians today are related to firearms that were or are still being used on the battlefields. This includes the so-called assault weapons that President Bill Clinton banned from 1994 to 2004. Today, many American manufacturers produce what anti-gun groups call assault rifles. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, the trade group for firearms manufacturers, calls these same firearms modern sporting rifles. These semi-automatic rifles have been among the hottest sellers to civilians for the last decade and more. So, okay, the president is in over his head here. He doesn't understand American history or very much at all about the firearms 80 million Americans own. Let's hear what else he had to say. Obama continued, quote, and so what I'm trying to do is to get a broader conversation about how do we reduce the violence generally. Part of it is seeing that we can get an assault weapons ban reintroduced, unquote. Oh boy, we have to pause again. The 1994 assault weapons ban prohibited the sale of certain models from certain manufacturers, and it outlawed the sale of other firearms that had certain features. Basically, it banned guns that had a certain number of cosmetic features, such as a folding stock, pistol grip, bayonet mount, and so on. Now, even if such a gun ban could lower crime rates, the FBI statistics prove gun bans don't reduce crime. When the ban was in effect, a person could still buy a firearm with the same semi-automatic action, but without the cosmetic enhancements. So the so-called assault weapons ban was a bit like trying to ban sports cars by banning tail fins. Obama might not know that, but he seems aware that such a ban wouldn't work. He went on to say, quote, frankly, in my hometown of Chicago, there's an awful lot of violence, and they're not using AK-47s. They're using cheap handguns, unquote. So, okay, Obama seems to know that stopping law-abiding Americans from buying firearms that look a certain way isn't going to stop criminals, but he wants to curb Second Amendment freedoms anyway. Obama attempts to explain his contradictions by saying, quote, and so what can we do to intervene to make sure that young people have opportunity? That our schools are working? That if there's violence on the street, that working with faith groups and law enforcement can catch it before it gets out of control. And so what I want is comprehensive strategy. Part of it is seeing that we can get automatic weapons that kill folks in amazing numbers out of the hands of criminals and the mentally ill. But part of it is also going deeper and seeing if we can get into these communities and making sure we catch violent impulses before they occur, unquote. I said happen, sorry. Let me interject something there before I go on. All that means is what they've set up in San Francisco, which is pre-crime technology. They've set this up. It's there. Go there. It's there. Okay? If it's not the cameras in the locations, it's people, that are, like plainclothes everyday people, but they work for, the government, the city, whatever, looking for certain eye movements, certain body language, certain movements of bodies, certain things that are said. They may even go and confront these people and talk to them saying, hey, man, I hate this city. And they may set these people up. The FBI just did it, and they said they foiled a plot against the Federal Reserve in New York when they were the ones that set it up in the first place. Okay? There's pre-crime technology. Okay? Let me continue on here because I don't have that long. First of all, he says, we need to get automatic weapons out of the hands of criminals. This is what the writer Frank says. The thing is, unless someone has a Class 3 federal firearms license, these are very difficult to get. They can't own automatic weapons. Semi-automatic firearms, every time you pull the trigger, the gun goes bang once, are legal. So again, Obama doesn't know what he's talking about, which makes people wonder if he wants to ban all semi-automatic firearms. The answer to whether he would like to do that isn't clear, but he mentions Chicago. So let's take a quick look at what's going on in the Windy City. We'll go to page 2. Frank Miniter wrote this article. He continues and says, Chicago is on pace to be the murder capital of 2012. Between January 1st and June 27th, 2012, a staggering 250 people were killed in Chicago. That's almost enough to fill 10 regular-sized buses. That's 36 more deaths than occurred in the same period in 2011, a 38% rise at the time than when most cities have declining murder rates. As of late September, there had been 400 murders in Chicago. And in parentheses, he writes, there are a lot of real faces and stories behind these horrific statistics. See a map of locations complete with details about the people killed. And there's a link to that. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Chicago Police Superintendent Gary McCarthy haven't been able to stop the violence. Emanuel was formerly White House Chief of Staff to President Barack Obama. He served as senior advisor to President Bill Clinton from 93 to 98 and as a Democratic member of the U.S. House of Representatives from 2003 until his resignation in 2009 to take his position in the Obama administration. He won the mayoral election in Chicago on February 22, 2011. Last spring, Emanuel tried and failed to create a statewide registry of gun owners, though Illinois remains the only state in the nation that does not allow residents to carry concealed firearms. That's not enough gun control for Emanuel. In fact, last June, after U.S. District Judge Samuel I'm not going to butcher that name, called a section of Chicago's gun laws, quote, unconstitutionally void for vagueness, unquote, reason. Emanuel said at a news conference, quote, the reason we have gun laws, the reason I'm trying to also pass tougher gun laws down in Springfield is because it's an essential complement to your overall crime strategy, unquote. McCarthy, meanwhile, came from Newark, New Jersey. He was police director. Before working in Newark, McCarthy was a beat officer in New York City. That's a tough resume, but McCarthy might have gotten an appointment because of his politics. McCarthy expressed his views on gun rights in a church. He went to St. Sabina's Church in Chicago and told parishioners that the black codes, that's quote-unquote, also Jim Crow laws and segregation, those are all in quotes, that occurred in the South were, quote-unquote, government-sponsored racism. That's true. But then he said today's federal gun laws are also, quote-unquote, government-sponsored racism. He said, quote, I want you to connect one more dot on that chain of African American history in this country and tell me if I'm crazy. Federal gun laws that facilitate the flow of illegal firearms into our urban centers are killing black and brown children, unquote. McCarthy thinks he can reduce the violent crime rate by using the government to take away any individual right, the Second Amendment of our Bill of Rights, from law-abiding citizens everywhere. Yet he doesn't see the parallel between the statist position and the black codes and Jim Crow laws he called government-sponsored racism. Black codes and Jim Crow laws once disarmed and disenfranchised people on the basis of race. These were government-sponsored, just as the restrictions preventing law-abiding citizens from carrying firearms for their protection are government-sponsored. Neither Emanuel nor McCarthy nor Obama will look into the facts that, as John Lott showed in More Guns, Less Crime, indicate violent crime rates tend to go down when gun ownership goes up. This is intellectually lazy of them, as they have a lot of examples to choose from. In 2008, in the 2008 Heller decision, for example, the Supreme Court struck down Washington, D.C.'s handgun ban and gun lock requirements. When the Heller case was decided, Washington's Mayor Adrian Fenty warned, quote, "More handguns in the District of Columbia will only lead to more handgun violence," unquote. Knowing that Chicago's gun laws would soon face a similar legal challenge, Chicago Mayor Richard Daley said he was outraged. He said people, quote, "are going to take a gun and they're going to end their lives in a family dispute," unquote. The bloodbath never arrived. Murders in Washington plummeted by an astounding 25% in 2009, dropping from 186 murders in 2008 to 140, Washington's lowest number rate since 1967. In 1982, Chicago's murder rate also rose after the Seventh Circuit Appeals Court upheld its ban on new handguns. Over the preceding 19 years, there were only 3 years where the murder rate was as low as it was in 1982. As shown in Lott's third edition of More Guns, Less Crime, before the ban, Chicago's murder rate was falling relative to the 9 other largest cities, but after the ban, Chicago's murder rate rose relative to other cities. Ban the guns, crime goes up. Let everybody carry a gun. I live in an open carry state. I live in Nevada. I carried a gun. You let people arm themselves. You let them do what they need to do to protect themselves. Your crime from the gang members and all of that crap goes down. Folks, it's either that or let the police and the TSA and the military and all of that be on the streets, and how safe are you going to be then, huh? Let me continue on, because this is very, very interesting. Meanwhile, Lott's finding that shall issue laws, and in parentheses, let me say that again. Meanwhile, Lott's findings that shall issue laws, in parentheses here, the writer, writes, a shall issue jurisdiction is one where a person must obtain a permit to carry a concealed handgun, but where the granting of such permits is subject only to meeting certain established criteria. Okay, those laws tend to reduce crime rates, has been backed up by peer-reviewed studies. I just said that. You let the citizens carry, either openly or concealed, crime rate drops dramatically. So we need to stand on the Second Amendment. Everybody in the United States of America right now, hearing my voice, you need to protest and get the gun laws there. You know what? Here's what government says. We need gun control. You know what that means? It means eliminating the Second Amendment. That's what that means. That's what that means. And that's all that means. Let me go to break, and I'll come back in about 3.5 minutes, and I'll continue on. This is the views expressed right here on the Liberty and Freedom Network, broadcasting live on Spreaker.com.
Late Night in the Midlands is an alternative media that covers the truth, theory, and fact that the lamestream media won't talk about. We cover everything from the known and the unknown, the normal and the paranormal, the government lies and the government ties, and even their thrive. We tell what's coming, what's going, whether it be politics or archaeologists. We have an amazing fan base, and our shows are all archived to be heard millions of times more. So tell your friends, your family, and anybody you care about LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Become a member and be informed.
Come listen to Journey into Light with your host, Michael Long. The show is about looking into the afterlife. Where do our souls go from here? What are the true messages from above? Everybody is family, so make a journey into light with Michael Long your home. With the best guests on the show, they share the love with all who call in and those who are in the chat room. That's Journey into Light with Michael Long, Sunday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, on blogtalkradio.com/Journey into the Light. Eastland Sci-Fi Radio Theater is looking for you. Are you a voice actor looking to hone your abilities? Are you a writer looking for actors? Then Eastland Sci-Fi Radio Theater is for you. If you are a voice actor or a writer of sci-fi themed radio plays, send your information to Eastland Radio Films at USA.com. For more information, go to eastlandradiofilms.wix.com/EastlandFilms for more information. If you are a voice actor, send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Films at USA.com. Email us here at Liberty and Freedom Network at libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. This is the Views Express. Welcome. I am your host, Reverend Wayne S. Pierce, for the 24th of October, 2012. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it very much. If you were listening the last hour, I got to the top of the hour and I had to cut myself off because of a break, but you can go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook and check out the link for what President Obama says he'll do to your gun rights. Okay? Now, I want to continue on because this is very, very important. The Constitution is very important. If you don't believe it is, then you're an idiot. Let me back up just for a minute. Talks about the murder rates. I was talking about the murder rates and how citizens who are armed in certain cities, crime rate in those cities go down. Okay, and when you have gun restriction, crime rates go up. Okay, I was talking about that, and it showed from Washington, D.C. to Chicago to all of that in New York City. So looking at that, you can go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Click on the link that says what President Obama says he'll do to your gun rights. And let me continue on. It says here, in 1982, Chicago's murder rate also rose from after the Seventh Circuit Appeals Court upheld its ban on new handguns. Over the preceding 19 years, there were only 3 years where the murder rate was as low as it was in 1982. As shown in Lott's third edition of More Guns, Less Crime, before the ban, Chicago's murder rate was falling relative to the 9 other largest cities, but after the ban, Chicago's murder rate rose relative to the other cities. Meanwhile, Lott's finding that shell-issue laws, shell-issue jurisdiction is one where a person must obtain a permit to carry a concealed handgun, but where the granting of such permits is subject only to meeting certain established criteria, tend to reduce crimes that has been backed up by peer-reviewed studies. And I said, and I interjected and said that when you arm the citizens, crime rate drops, period. End of sentence. It just does. A study, continuing, it's a study by Carlisle E. Moody and Thomas B. Marvell that was published in Econ Journal Watch in January of 2009 looked into Lott's findings. It determined that, quote, many articles have been published finding that shell-issue laws reduce crime. Only one article by Ayers and Donahue, who employ a model that combines a dummy variable with a post-law trend, claims to find that shell-issue laws increase crime. However, the only way that they can produce the result that shell-issue laws increase crime is to confine the span of analysis to 5 years. We show, using their own estimates, that if they had extended their analysis by 1 more year, they would have concluded that these laws reduce crime. There you go, unquote. There you go. You arm the citizens, crime rates drop. Okay, period. They just drop. That's it. Continuing, the fact that disarming citizens doesn't reduce crime was also expressed in the Supreme Court's majority opinion by McDonald. Quote, the number of Chicago homicide victims during the current year equaled the number of American soldiers killed during the same period in Afghanistan and Iraq. 80% of the Chicago victims were black. If, as petitioners believe, their safety and the safety of other law-abiding members of the community would be enhanced by the possession of handguns in the home for self-defense, then the Second Amendment right protects the rights of minorities and other residents of high crime areas whose needs are not being met by elected public officials, unquote. However, despite all the statistical examples, Emmanuel and Obama still blame Chicago's murder rate on guns. By Obama's own words, a second Obama administration would mean that policies now harming residents in Chicago would be pushed on to the rest of America. The bottom line is, folks, he's a Marxist. He lives and operates through executive orders, through Marxist philosophies and communist dictates. Well, what do you expect? He sat in a church for 20 years under Jeremiah Wright. And he knows Bill Ayers. Hello? Social justice and a just somebody that wanted to bomb the Pentagon, I guess, back in the 60s. The bottom line is, folks, we need to be armed. Period. Now, I'm not saying that we need to, get armed and go out and cause havoc and hunt down these people. No. No. We need to protect ourselves. And if that means having a handgun in the house or something, we're going to do it. We need to do it. That is our right. That right is protected. And that's the way it is. Now, would Romney take away our guns? You decide. With everything that I've heard so far, I don't think he will, because he knows that if he were to tell the American people, I'm going to abolish the Second Amendment, you want to see a civil war and a riot and revolution happen in the United States? So even if Romney became president, he would restrict the Second Amendment that much more than what it is already. No, he wouldn't. He's a good guy. No, he's not. He lied already. He's been lying left and right, okay? In the Mormon church, you become a bishop, not a pastor. He said he was a pastor. There's a couple other things that I remember that I heard him say that I don't remember right now, but... And of course, hey, Obama's lying too. Lying through his teeth. This guy can't tell the truth. Wouldn't know the truth if it jumped up and bit him on the nose. But then again, both these men have a perspective that literally they see things a whole lot differently than us out here who are aware and American citizens. Okay? So their perspective, they believe that what they're doing is right only because of the fact that they see it from their perspective, and they believe that they need to do certain things to, because of what they see. I know it's very deep. Basically, it's their perspective. Oh, we'll stop crime in Chicago if we just abolish the Second Amendment. No, you won't. I just read you the article. You won't. If the criminals and the drug gangs, by the way, there's a corridor from Texas and also from Arizona that goes up into a certain area in the United States going straight up into Chicago. That's one or two of the routes for the drugs to get into Chicago. Okay? Also, that's the route that goes into Detroit, Michigan. Many of your gangs, your street gangs, your MS-13 types, have numerous people who are of the Hispanic descent, and most of them are illegal and should not even be here. But they are because they're funded by the drug cartels in Mexico, who, by the way, is being funded by the ATF and the Fast and Furious program. Because the army is guarding the opium fields in Afghanistan and helping ship the drugs out to Mexico for processing. We ship the guns in to protect the investment. That's how it works, folks. I said it before and I'll say it again. This whole system is rigged from top to bottom. And there's nothing you can do about it at the ballot box. Nothing at all. What? So you're saying we shouldn't vote? I'm saying we need to make so much noise that this system, this whole voting system, this whole system where we get the vote, all of that needs to collapse and go away. And we need to pull out the paper ballots again. Well, that's still fraud. They can still defraud that. Really? Well, let me put it to you this way, folks. How's this? Let me give you a couple of options. We can either be a free sovereign nation where we have credible people on the ballot that we can vote for, and we vote in a way that, like your mama always told you, vote your conscience. And we vote for the right people for the merit and for who they are, not for the party they represent. That's one option. The other option is having the government come to you, point a gun to your head, and say, you're going to vote for our candidate. Which option do you think is a whole lot better for this country, folks? Huh? It's coming down to the point where and I know this, I not only, have seen stuff happen, and that's a whole different show, but I'm looking at trends, I'm looking at history, I'm looking at all of this. And guess what, folks? We're going to have a revolution in this country that's going to make the Civil War look like a picnic in the park. We're going to have such chaos in this country that it's going to make the War of Independence from British monarchy look like you're playing tiddlywinks with your cousin. Okay? It is going to get that bad. Now, a lot of people are going to say, a lot of people are going to tell me, well, why are you saying all that stuff? Why can't you just be positive? Why? That's why I don't listen to your show, because you're not positive. I'm not positive because, folks, it's not positive. Okay, I'll be positive. Your day is going to go as well as you believe it will go. How's that? You want that pie in the sky affirmation? How about this? There's snow on the mountain here on the Sierras, and skiers are having fun this week. Is that positive enough for you? How's this? Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and Representative Dean Heller signed on to the NDAA to indefinitely detain you. How's that? Folks, your focus determines your reality. I look at everything around me and say, hey, wait a minute, something's wrong here. I read papers online. I look at stuff going on around me. I'm seeing what Nevada's doing, which is a socialist state in itself. But there are certain freedoms that we have. I'm looking at my former state, California, totally in the toilet. They're just waiting for somebody to push the handle. And I'm looking at other states like that, and I'm asking myself, how can I be positive when I'm seeing the trash going on around me? By the way, it's real simple. But it's not by ignoring it. It's by manning up. It's by pulling your gut together and giving yourself a reality check, saying, look, I can get through this. It's going to be hard as hell, and I may have a whole lot of bruises, but we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And the first thing we need to do is focus our attention and make the Constitution and the Bill of Rights a reality. Period. End of sentence. And we need to use that as the rule of law to imprison all of the criminals in Washington, D.C. Why do you think President Barack Obama signed the NDAA into law on December 31st, 2011, without anybody knowing about it? It virtually gutted the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, but now we have to resurrect it by our own hearts and spirits. I'll be back in about 30 seconds from now. Hey, this is the Views Expressed right here on the Liberty and Freedom Network. Welcome. I'm your host, Reverend Wayne S. Pierce. For the 24th of October 2012, thank you for being here. What do? We have a Constitution and a Bill of Rights. And they are still in power, and I'll tell you why. Because all of the executive orders were not constitutional. Every single last one of them are not constitutional because of the fact that President Obama didn't go to Congress and put forth his proposal first. And of course, they rejected it. And he did on certain areas like Obamacare and some other things. But behind the scenes, in closed doors, he just signed an executive order and there it was, without even bringing it up to Congress. They're all illegal according to the rule of law of the Constitution of the United States of America, period, end of sentence. He is an illegal president, he is an illegitimate administrator, and has no clue I'm sure he knows what he's doing. Let me rephrase that. I'm sure he knows what he's doing, but he's told to do it, okay? If you look at some of his advisors, you'll find that they are of Goldman Sachs. And if you look at some of those people, even the ones on the fringes of his inner circle, you'll find that they are, Think Progress and Media Matters, owned and funded by George Soros, dictates to him what the news should be. And I am pretty sure that one of those groups leaks out certain information out to the general public as a red herring. So, if it comes down to this, folks, you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention. That's all you need to do. You need to pay attention. I have spent most of my life, since high school, since my early 20s. When I graduated high school, I was still researching a lot of stuff. I spent most of my life looking at the problems of the government, looking at the problems that we are faced with every single day, and I've tried to do everything I can and the best I can to survive. I think that's all we're trying to do. And we're doing the best we can. And you mothers and fathers out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I specifically say that to you parents because you guys, you have a thankless job. Your parents taught you well, and now you try to teach your kids. But we have to look around and pay attention to what's going on. If we see something and something inside of us says, something not right there, then we need to start questioning it. We need to put that question out. Why is our city telling us that we have to do this? For instance, Michael Bloomberg, Nanny Bloomberg in New York City, saying he's banned all drinks over 32 ounces or 32 ounces. He's banned all those. He's going into the movie theaters and banning all popcorn. He's guising his reason for that under this, kids are obese and we have to watch out for the health of... No, you're doing it because you're a damn dictator, dude. And now New York is following suit to that. I mean, not New York. There's an article on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Talks about that. Okay. Let me get to some of these articles. I don't have much time left, so let me get to some of these. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Scroll on down. You'll see an article that reads with the headline, UK, funded UN document supports online surveillance just like the Brits want. You go on down here, says, there's another one. UN calls for worldwide internet surveillance and data retention in the name of fighting terrorism. Go check that one out. North Dakota passes a law to ban forced RFID chips implants on humans. Okay? For all you gamers out there, major ISPs announce new copyright enforcement program will be overseen by the Recording Industry of America's lobbyist. In other words, all that free games you get, all that free stuff you're getting on the internet, all those free programs, all those cracked programs with the keygens and all that, guess what? Those sites are going down. Okay? All of them. So you people better figure out how you're going to get your free stuff. If not, you better put some people to work and pay for the games you want. Hell, a 16-year-old can hack into the government computers. And, of course, big news, White House was told about Libya militant link within a couple of hours after it happened. Okay? Will frustrated homeowners and armed posses take matters into their own hands as home invasions rise? I didn't get to that on yesterday's show. So at the bottom of the hour, I'm going to take a break, come back, and get into this. Okay? Bottom line is, folks, you need to pay attention. And if you're not paying attention, you got a big-ass problem. I'm telling you, you have a huge problem if you're not paying attention. Okay? I find it incredibly odd, and it's just me. I find it incredibly odd that people say, oh yeah, I pay attention. I listen to the local news. They talk about some international stuff, but that's okay. No, folks. You want to talk about your dog and pony show? There you go. Your local news, your local cable news, your local international cable news and all that. Guess what? Frauds. They're all liars. Every single last one of them. I want to say this and make this perfectly clear. I do not condone violence. I'm not even asking people, telling people to go out and cause violence. I don't condone it. Matter of fact, if you cause violence, you need to go to jail. I support defense, and I defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights of the United States of America against enemies foreign and domestic. So get over it. Okay? I've seen a lot of people download this show and various other episodes of this show, and I'm wondering what they're doing with it. I own it. That's the way it is. You don't like it. Tough. Get over it. But you can play it on your show anytime you want. If you're going to cut it up and try to analyze it, you're as dumb as a box of rocks. You want to know what I meant to say? Like you're trying to analyze it? Then you come to me and you email me at libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. And you ask me, and I'll even come on your show and explain it. I'll be back right after this.
Are you tired of sending your kids to schools and nursing homes and seeing them shot up? Then you need the TSA. Let's go live to our reporter downtown.
Sir, can you tell us what's so great about the TSA?
Oh, I love the TSA. When I go to the airport, they grab my balls and make my wife take off her shirt. This is the most action I've had in years. TSA.
Their wonderful staff of ex-cons and child molesters will give you the respect that you deserve.
Are you tired of listening to boring online late-night radio? Then listen to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera, 9 p.m. to 12 midnight Eastern. Go to www.latenightinthe.midlands.com for more information.
Listen to Angel Clark Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Radio Freedom News Network. RadioFreedom.us.
Are you looking for an alternative to your normal everyday radio? Well, check out KTRNradio.com. Jay Towers and Brian Keller, bring you everything that you ever wanted to know, even if you didn't want to know it. Go check out That Radio Show with your host, Jay Towers, and That VK Show with your host, Brian Keller, on KTRNradio.com. If you're into liberty and libertarian values, tune in to The Angel Clark Show, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, at radiofreedom.us. Hey, this is Views Expressed right here on the Liberty and Freedom Network, broadcasting live on Spreaker.com for the 24th of October, 2012. Halloween is next week. Yeah. Anybody going out? Yeah, take your kids out during the day, and have fun. And that's what it is, have fun. Hey, going to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook, check out the link that says, as soon as I get back there, I was doing stuff, man. I was doing stuff. Yeah. Let me read two articles for you. Will frustrated homeowners and armed posses take matters into their own hands as home invasions rise? It's over at endoftheamericandream.com. Michael wrote this. Violent crime is on the rise in the United States, and many Americans are totally fed up. According to the U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics, Justice Statistics. I didn't know there was a bureau of that. According to the U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics, if I can say that word, the number of household burglaries rose by 14% last year, and the overall rate of violent crime in the United States increased by 18% during 2011. Based on what we have seen so far this year, we will almost certainly see another huge increase once the statistics for 2012 are released. All over the country, criminals are becoming bolder. Meanwhile, police budgets are being slashed from coast to coast. Things have gotten so bad in some communities that police are openly admitting that crime is completely and totally out of control. For example, police in Detroit recently handed out flyers with this message, quote, "Enter Detroit at your own risk," unquote. Sadly, you can't even escape the crime and violence by staying in your own home these days. Home invasions are becoming increasingly common, and many police departments seem powerless to stop them. If many of the poor areas of America today, if many of the poor areas of America today, if you are a victim of a home invasion, you will be really lucky to get a police officer to show up a couple of hours later to fill out a report. A lot of the frustrated homeowners have had enough and have started to arm themselves to the teeth. Some have even begun to form armed posses to patrol their own neighborhoods. We are watching America change right in front of our eyes, and it is frightening to think about what is coming next. The streets of some U.S. cities have been transformed into war zones at this point. Just check out this excerpt from a recent story about a horrific violence that is taking place in Camden, New Jersey. At the vigil last week, residents prayed that Camden would simply find peace and that the masked gunman who killed Jewel Manier and Khalil Gibson would be caught. As it grew darker, Michael Benjamin stood toward the back of the crowd. His son huddled even closer now and shook his head. Quote, "I've known at least 45 kids who have been killed in my lifetime," unquote, he said, the boy holding his finger. Quote, "I stopped counting in 2004, though," unquote. You may think that talk of armed posses patrolling local communities is a little out there, but the truth is that it is already happening. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network and click on the link that says, "Will frustrated homeowners and armed posses take matters into their own hands as home invasions rise?" So many things. I mean, people, we need to pay attention. Now, here's the big news. I wanted to save till last. I should have got on this earlier, but I didn't. From the peoplestruth.tumblr.com. Click on the link there in Liberty and Freedom Network. UN calls for worldwide internet surveillance and data retention in the name of fighting terrorism. The manufactured threat of terrorism has once again been used to push what would otherwise be unthinkable. In this case, the United Nations is exploiting the irrational fear of terrorism to justify international internet surveillance. In a new 148-page UN report released at a conference in Vienna entitled, quote, "The Use of the Internet for Terrorist Purposes," unquote, the UN claimed that the lack of an, quote, "internationally agreed framework for retention of data," unquote, is problematic, along with open wireless networks, internet networks in public places. The UN claims that terrorists are utilizing social networking sites like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to spread what they call propaganda. This perspective is somewhat similar to that presented by groups like the Homeland Security Policy Institute in claiming that a major threat is the, quote, "spread of the terrorist entity's narrative," unquote. This notion is quite dangerous because the nature of this propaganda or narrative is never clearly outlined. Instead, the door is left open to call anything and everything that is different from the manufactured government account of various events propaganda or something which spreads the enemy's narrative. You can go read that as well at Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. I don't know, folks. I mean, we've built this country on liberty and freedom. We built this country on the principles that everyone is created equal. I'm always asked, or the question has been asked many times, if we're created equal in the eyes of God, then why was there slavery? Why did white man look to the black man and create slaves out of the black man? Well, you got to go and look at all the history. You got to go and look at all the things that were happening. British merchants in big, huge sailing ships went to Africa, went somewhere, picked up these people, and it just wasn't black. It was white slaves, it was Asian slaves, it was Hispanic slaves, and they brought them to the New World. Actually, they brought them to the coast, like where Georgia is and all those places over there on the East Coast, off the Atlantic, or, right there. You know what I mean. It's right there on the East Coast. Brought them to those ports and then brought them in and then shipped them throughout the country. Okay? That's what we did. I say we in a general sense. It wasn't you and I. It was our ancestors. Back in the 1600s. Yes, goes back that far. 500 years ago. Okay? 500 years ago. 1512. I mean, go look it up. 1511. Go 1600s. Go look it up. I mean, I looked at my history. I looked at the American history, and guess what? We killed millions and millions of natives that were here and then claimed it was our land. Excuse me. No, it's not. I think one of the greatest activists and authors and actors that history will ever know passed away this past weekend. Russell Means. The bottom line is, folks, we killed people when we got here. Okay, we took their land. Hello, we call them Native Americans. We don't know what the official name of these folks were. Oh, they're Native Americans. No, they're not. It wasn't even America before we got here. Okay, it was a piece of land that other people were living on. All right, that's the start of our history. Our founding fathers developed Our founding fathers created this country. Yes, I will give them a virtual high five for that. They created the principles that was used to put together the first 13 colonies here. And when you look at it, we still have the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and Commonwealth of New York, and it's still there. Okay? That's our founding fathers. Not the people that came over here 200 to 300 years prior to that and killed people, okay? And enslaved them and took them back on their sailing ships to Europe. Okay, check out the history, people. You don't have to listen to me. Go check out the history. Oh, they didn't say that when I was in high school. That's because the revisionist in 1961 in, of all places, Texas, revised the history books to take all that out. Okay? Go back 40 years ago, grab a history book, and then grab one today and look up anything that has to do with Martin Luther King. You'll find it. It's there, but you go back 40 years ago, you grab a book, a history textbook in your library or high school or college, and you go look up the real issues of how we came here, what we did, you know, that there were other people here long before we were here. You go look that stuff up and you'll never find it. It's crazy. It's just, I mean, come on, folks. Come on. You guys are smarter than this. You guys understand. You know what's out there. You see it. Well, I don't want to listen to your show because I want to have a good day. I don't want to be all depressed. Really? Then do something about it. Then get up and start being proactive. Okay? Instead of sitting there feeling sorry for yourself or watching stupid sports games and your stupid reality shows, why don't you get up and do something about it? Why don't you start writing letters? Why don't you start a newsletter? Why don't you take this show, put it on your, parts of it on your show? Yes, the show is copywritten, folks, but hey, I'm giving you permission to use it. Why don't you take the time to go and research this stuff that I'm talking about? Go look at the UN Charter of 1997. Go look at the Telecommunications Act of 1996. Go look at the new amendments that are there that help the federal government get into your cell phone, turn it on without you even knowing about it. And if you have a camera on it, they'll turn that on too and watch you. If you have a camera on your Mac sitting there in front of you, tape that sucker up. If you've got a webcam connected to your PC, take that sucker out. Why? They're watching you. They know what you're doing. Well, how are we going to defeat them? One day at a time. Back, I believe, quite some time ago. Quite some time ago, folks. It's been a while. I'm searching for something. How did this whole country develop to the point, how did the people develop to the point of saying they were tired of the Church of England and the European rule over the people here? 13 new colonies governed by the King of England and governed through edict. Go look it up. Governed through edict. Brought by or brought to the king through the Church of England. Go look it up. Okay? Had several people get together and say, wait a minute, King George wants more taxes? Bite me. Okay? It all started with the Boston Tea Party, referred to it in its time simply as the destruction of the tea, or by other informal names, and so named until half a century later, was a political protest by the Sons of Liberty in Boston, a city in the British colony of Massachusetts, against the tax policy of the British government and the East Indian Company that controlled all the tea imported into the colonies. On December 16, 1773, after officials in Boston refused to return 3 shiploads of taxed tea to Britain, a group of colonists boarded the ships and destroyed the tea by throwing it into the Boston harbor. The incident remains an iconic event of American history, and other political protests often refer to it. The Tea Party today, folks, is not like that. It's been co-opted by the Republican Party. It's been diluted down to talking points. When it first started in 2008, when Ron Paul came on the scene, he's the one that started it, and other people got around him. Or somebody started it around Ron Paul and freedoms that he was talking about. It was very, very good. But now, it's nothing. It's nothing. But how do you step up to the plate and say, wait a minute, I've had enough of this? How do you do that? You do it one step at a time. You know, people tell me, and I've heard this too, since doing shows on the internet, doing my radio show. People don't want to listen to my show because they think I'm a conspiracy theorist. Okay, prove it. Not one thing I'm giving you is anything other than the facts and the truth. So if you think I'm a conspiracy theorist, prove it. Prove it. You don't have the balls to do so. Okay? Secondly, I have people tell me they don't want to listen to my show, and it's just overall, conglomerate of things that I've heard from various people. They don't want to listen to my show because they want to have a good day. They want to think positive thoughts. They want to, they don't want their day ruined. I mean, so many different reasons. But then they'll turn around and criticize me and tell me I'm a conspiracy theorist. Okay, get your head out of your butt and go and learn, search this stuff up. Go try to prove yourself right. You can't. There's no way. I'm just giving you information that I've gotten from elsewhere, from other sources, as an aggregate to put on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook so that you can decide for yourself. So you're calling me things that I'm not. but yet you don't want to prove yourself right. Kind of makes me think about your level of integrity that you have. Yes, you heard me right. I'm not lowering myself down to your level of ignorance. Okay? That's just the way it is. I've heard people tell me that they don't want to listen to my show because, and I've heard this, you're wrong about what's happening. Really? Prove it. So from now on, anytime anybody has anything to say to me about my show, about my resources, about anything that I'm talking about on this show, remember one very important factor, that I'm taking information from other places and putting it out there for you to judge for yourself and to make your own decisions. So for you to tell me I'm wrong or this or that or whatever, you ain't got a leg to stand on. And if you're sitting there thinking that you just want to watch your stupid reality shows and your dumb sports programs and all of that and not get the information together to be able to survive or to defend your family, if you don't want to see what is outside of your little cubicle, then you got a serious problem. I criticize people left and right, but I criticize people because it's true. But let me turn it around. I'm doing the best I can to get the information out there for you to make your own decisions and to draw your own conclusions. I'm not the best at doing this. I'm just trying to do my best to get it done. I don't know everything, thank God, because I would be bored because there wouldn't be anything else to learn. And guess what? Some of the things I see and some of the things I say, I could be wrong. And that's okay with me. Because when somebody corrects me, it doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means that I overlooked something. Okay? So for anybody to criticize me for anything that they don't understand, which they don't have a right to do anyway, they are completely idiotic. Because all I'm doing is taking the information that's out there, putting it on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook, letting you decide for yourself what it is, and drawing your own conclusions on that information. That's all I'm doing. And I'm giving you my view of what it is. And I'm giving you links to reference certain things, to also giving you facts about certain things, about Obama's view on gun rights and all that. I'm telling you my view. Now one of my friends says, my friend says, about this show, it should be titled My Views Expressed because I'm giving you my view. No, it's The Views Expressed because on Fridays I usually have open forum Fridays where people can call in and you can do that. And I'll tell you tomorrow on the show how you can do that for Friday. We have a guest on Friday too. You might want to call in and ask her some questions. But I want to hear from you. That's why I give my email out. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Email me what you think. And if you want me to read it on air, that's fine too. Just let me know, because I'm not going to do it unless I get your permission. I mean, that's just the way it is. So, when are you going to stand up and say something? When are you going to take the reins? When are you going to grab the opportunity and express yourself about these things? Apparently, if you're watching your stupid reality shows and your dumb sports programs, you don't have time. You don't want to do it. Oh, I want my day to be happy. Really? It's happier when you know that you still have your freedoms to be able to speak out against all of this. Okay? Your day is going to be that much better when you know that your freedoms are still intact, that they're still protected by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights of the United States of America. And if you're not happy about that, then, hey, all I can tell you is pack up and move out of the country, because you obviously don't know what freedom is. You obviously don't know what liberty is. You obviously don't have the balls to stand up and defend yourself. So just pack your crap, go to a cave somewhere in some other country, and just have a nice life. But on the opposite side of that, if you do have the balls and do understand what it all is, then you have an obligation to stand up and do what it takes. That's just the way it is. And if you don't like what I say, don't listen. I gave you my email address, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. Email me, tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm full, whatever. I want to hear from you. Okay? People criticize me all day long, but bottom line is they don't know what they're criticizing me about. They don't. I have 4 rules in my personal life. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me things I already know. Don't criticize me for things you don't understand. And don't contradict me. Those are the 4 principles I have in my own personal life. The vast majority of people that know that, understand that, and we're fine with it. And we go out and have dinner and we enjoy life. But other than that, email me, Free America Radio, directly. Email me directly at the show, freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com, or you can email me or email the show at libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. If I sounded too critical, well, maybe you need to grow some thicker skin. There's a lot of things that we need to remember. There's a lot of things that we need to know. Please come back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern for the views expressed right here on the Liberty and Freedom Network. And remember this: we the people have the power, for we are America.